you're going to have a great time watching KBC Channel 1 and having to listen to very nice music just to make your morning. But before we get to that, let's talk about matters that affect national or shape national discourse. And of late, we've seen governors raising allegations of harassment, extortion, and also, on the other hand, the Senate insists on carrying out its mandate of oversight role, especially when it comes to public funds, as it is constitutionally mandated. And this is coming at the backdrop of Auditor General's reports that have been flagging persistent financial misuse within the counties. And so far, the governors that have appeared on the County Public Accounts Committee have led to this. And today we are asking, given the events we have seen, the tiff between the governors and the Senate regarding these matters, a question is, are governors dodging accountability when it comes to how public funds within the counties are used? And joining me for that conversation is Imran Abdirahman Mohammed, who is a youth leader. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Good morning, Mike, and good morning, Kenyans.
Yes.
I'm happy to join you today.
Yes.
And happy late birthday.
Yes.
To you.
Thank you. You know, it's been a minute since you were here, but let's get into it, into the conversation. You look at what is happening.
Yes.
The tiff between governors and the Senate, especially the County Public Accounts Committee, and saying that there have been allegations of harassment and extortion. First of all, what do you make of that and those allegations? Do they need to be investigated?
Mike, that's a very good question. And I like your headline for today's discussion, that devolution is indeed on trial. And as we know it, corruption is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it is with you, sometimes it will slay you.
Yeah.
So I think what is happening right now between the Senate and governors, for that matter, is really something good that Kenyans are supposed to see and learn from. So I think there were allegations all around, Parliament being solicited by either the government of the day or, political wheeler dealers to get their way around laws and what they want. And that has always been some hypothetical stories in Parliament. But now for governors to come out and actually say that we are being extorted, and senators to say that they are running and, avoiding accountability, is really a timely conversation, for the general or the greater good of the public.
Yes.
So I think, to be honest with you, this has been something in discussion over time, but the reality of the matter is these things are there. We know that during the impeachment of the former deputy president, there was that allegation that members of parliament were bribed heavily to oust the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
And some of them have come forth, some of the members have come forth that they have been approached and, people were attempting to bribe them. And now, the last 2 days we are getting all these stories from the governors themselves. I think it is a double-sided story, but the truth of the matter is corruption is there. It's a national discussion that we should have. Yes.
Do you think, when you look at the devolution architecture from a perspective of accountability, is it failing?
Absolutely. I mean, I am for the idea that devolution was meant to develop the country.
Yes.
And it was actually engineered for the greater good of the country. But to what extent is that progress happening? Uko mashinani. And I think a great deal of devolution works for those who have found themselves in the positions of authority, especially at the county government, because much of these resources are actually in questions, how they're used, how they're spent, and how they end up in the pockets of those who are supposed to manage these public funds for the greater good of the people and for the counties at the grassroots level. So I think as much as I am a firm believer and strong defender of devolution and the gains it has made so far, especially in localizing resources, I am also very firm in speaking about how much of these resources are not actually helping the people, but going into the pockets of those who are managing them.
Now, we've seen the reports by the Auditor General flagging out misuse of public funds. And governors, on the other hand, have come to defend themselves. From your perspective, because we've seen questions, very valid questions being asked about how funds are being used. But then again, from your own perspective, looking at the governors, are they dodging accountability?
Absolutely, I agree. I agree with the Senate Public Accounts Committee that the hula baloo and noise we are seeing from the governors is actually directed towards dodging accountability. And I'll tell you why. The questions the Senate is asking are questions posed by the Auditor General. It is not questions engineered in Senate. It is not something of their own making, but actually they are grilling the governors. They are questioning the governors on areas where the Auditor General has concerns and reservations against the use of public funds. So I think for governors to actually come out and demonize the Senate for their role is really a political tug of war. And it is actually supposed to create some noise and question the credibility of the Senate. But that is just sideshows. I want to just confirm that on my way to the studio, I've had a few conversations with members of the public, and they told me the Senate Public Accounts Committee is the only working committee in National Assembly and Senate, which is, that's the only committee that is doing what it's supposed to do. And we really congratulate them, we stand with them, and we urge them to soldier on.
Has the heat become too much?
For the governors, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll give you a very practical example. My governor was at the Senate Public Accounts Committee. That is the governor for Mandera. And some of the questions he was asked were really shocking, The way he has responded, the way his team responded were very shocking. And we've seen the Senate query 55.9 million shillings spent allegedly on seedlings. And a follow-up to that discussion is where now farmers in Mandera came out and said, we are the farmers along the river line. We are the farmers in Mandera. We have not seen this 55.9 million. We have not heard of it. It has not come into our farms. So I think the Senate is rightly doing their job.
So where does EACC come in? Because these have been allegations. Where do they come in to investigate and verify that indeed there was money misused and maybe they can recommend say, for prosecution?
Absolutely. And I think EACC is independent to do their work. But my idea is that the Anti-Corruption Commission should actually use the Senate as a platform where they can source or get their information on how or who to investigate on these public funds. So, for instance, we have had that session with the Mandera governor in Senate. We have seen the questions being raised. We have had feedback from the communities in Mandera on whether or not they have received these funds. My question, just like yourself, is why EACC has not taken up that case, for example, against the governor of Mandera. So I think the question on whether, action shall be taken against allegations of corruption and mismanagement of public funds lies with the right or relevant government authorities. But as Kenyans, ordinary citizens, and thinking men and women, we should actually ask these questions, and action should be taken. Yes.
You look at the Auditor General's findings, and the things that come out in all this is, unsupported expenditure, pending bills, payroll irregularities, and ballooning legal fees within several counties. What would you say? Are these isolated accounting issues, or it's just systemic governance failure?
It is absolutely systemic governance failure. For example, I was reading the dailies when I was coming here,
yes,
and I found out that a collective of 21 billion shillings was spent on legal fees by the counties, and some of this expenditure is not supported. And you'll ask yourself, as much as we are fighting the national government and asking them to increase the allocations to the counties, take resources to the counties, are these resources actually being utilized for the purposes they are meant for? I mean, it's almost every other county or governor that comes to the Senate, Public Accounts Committee that has queries on very serious allegations against how they manage public funds. And you'll ask yourself, should we really continue with the fight for more resources being allocated to the counties when we cannot account for already what is being given to the counties? So I think there is a systemic, governance failure at the county level. Governors are evading accountability. And I'll give you a very, very practical example on how governors are evading accountability. What is the need for a governor who has served 10 years as a governor of a certain county to go for the Senate seat if they are not, planning or strategically positioning themselves to run away from accountability? The reason why many governors end up becoming senators is because of running away from accountability. I mean, your tenure as a governor for 10 years is supposed to be oversighted by a senator. If you put yourself or you force your way in as a senator, who then is supposed to account and hold oversight, roles over what you've been doing for the last 10 years? Yourself. So I think there's a very strategic political game the governors are playing, and the senators have come out to call it out as it is. And I think that's why many governors are now putting a lot of pressure on the senators.
What do you think of those appearances on that committee? Is it, what you would say, is the whole idea on providing clarity on the issues that have been raised?
Mike, you must understand that these questions were raised by the Auditor General. Most of them, the reservations, the areas where the Auditor General feels that things have not been clear, the areas where the Auditor General feels that supporting documents have not been provided, the areas where the Auditor General feels like there are questions. These are the questions the Senate amplifies, the committee asks based on the report and the findings of the Auditor General. So to be honest, the Senate is not, coming up with their own things. And you know that these committee sessions are televised, they are live.
Yes.
We understand what happens there. So for governors to allege that they are being mistreated by the Public Accounts Committee is completely a political decoy from, accountability.
When you look at those audit queries, say they remain unresolved for some time, does that point to weakness in what you would say is national oversight process? Would that be a weakness?
I hear you. But, the Senate Public Accounts Committee is doing what they're supposed to do. We are not seeing a failure on their end. They are rightfully discharging their mandate, and they're grilling these governors to the point that now they want to vilify them because of discharging their constitutional responsibility. So I think the issue on why this is happening is because the Senate is doing what they're supposed to do, and the governors are the ones actually playing political games to run away from the public getting to understand these issues. Like, for example, if they continue grilling the governors in this manner, you've seen that funny allegations are coming up and how resources are being spent. So I think the governors are losing ground based on their mismanagement of public resources. They are losing ground based on their failure to answer and respond on serious questions asked by the committee. They are failing and losing ground based on how they are mismanaging public resources. And I think they are fighting back. And as you know it, corruption always fights back.
You know, you look at what is happening, what has been raised by the Auditor General regarding finances within the counties. Say, for instance, we have such incidences going forward. Should there be stricter sanctions for repeat audit qualifications, especially when it comes to those counties? And how do you think that would look like?
What we just want as ordinary Kenyans and people of goodwill is for the investigating commissions to take up most of these cases or allegations Senate is raising. For example, if we have allegations of mismanagement of public funds, why is that not investigated by the right government authorities that are responsible for this? 55.9 million is not small money.
It's not small money.
32 point something is not small money.
3.7 million for a Christmas tree is not...
It's not small money. Why are not the relevant authorities investigating into these serious allegations? So I think there's a failure on government authorities to actually take up these issues. The Senate is rightfully doing what they're supposed to do. They are asking the right questions. And I'll tell you, for example, if Kenyans believe that the Public Accounts Committee of Senate is the only committee in the entire country that is seriously working and doing what they're supposed to do independently, then we need to protect that committee.
It also raises the question of trust, because at the end of the day, issues have been raised. But then again, sometimes Kenyans expect action to be taken. Do you think Kenyans have really trust these processes, because issues keep being raised left, right, and center every other day? Do you think there is enough trust from the public in as far as this process is concerned?
There is trust deficit in the public on the government itself. Mike, you have seen the president himself pronounce himself on corruption and money changing hands in parliament. I mean, how else could we talk about this issue if the president himself has pronounced himself on this issue? And he has, said that he will take action. Kenyans are still waiting for him to take action. And if things continue coming up like this, and the president fails to take action, or by extension, the government authorities responsible for taking action against, these allegations do not take action, then the government entirely will lose ground with
it also points to
public.
Trust that Kenyans have on institutions like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission in terms of taking up this responsibility of investigating the counties that have been mentioned when it comes to irregularities?
Yeah, I agree with you, but these issues have been raised a few days ago or a few weeks ago. We are still giving them the benefit of doubt, and we urge them as thinking men and women of this beautiful country called Kenya to take the necessary action and, you know, show us that the government is working, these investigative agencies are working, and indeed action is being taken.
Indeed. We're also joined by Evans Kerago, who is a lawyer. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you so much.
And
Most welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Ndio hiyo sasa. Handshake. You know, we are talking about matters to do with the counties. When it comes to what you are seeing, the governor saying harassment, extortion, those are allegations they have raised. But on the other hand, the Senate insists on its oversight role, which is constitutional. From your perspective, what do you make of that? Because we are talking about Auditor General's reports that have flagged misuse of or misappropriation of county resources. What do you make of that?
First of all, thank you so much, Mike, for having me.
Karibu
My
sana.
name is Evans Mushanga. I'm a lawyer by profession. And I'll first of all start with the constitutional tenets and provisions that then give impetus to the Senate to go ahead to grill, so to speak, to question counties and specifically the governors. You see, the Constitution of Kenya, Article 10, gives the national values and principles, which include transparency and accountability. Then we move ahead to Article 229 and read together with Article 125, which then give the Senate the mandate to actually summon the governors, put up inquiries with regards to the Auditor General's reports, and for this matter 2024-2025 audit reports, and equally move forward to then give recommendations.
Yes.
And we have seen two specific committees which have been very aggressive when it comes to accountability within the counties. We have seen the Public Accounts Committee led by Senator Kajwang, Homa Bay Senator, and we have also seen the Public Investment Committee led by Osotsi, Senator. So these two committees are within the precepts of the Constitution, and they are within the standing orders of Senate to also question the governors. When it comes to the aspect of extortion, the aspect of saying that they are not within their mandate, aspect of harassment, then I think it's far beyond that. Then he who alleges must prove. So if at all there's an aspect of bribery according to the papers, there's an aspect of harassment according to the papers, then the governors also have their duty to prove. Strictly speaking, the law of evidence, section 107, puts them to strict proof, must prove that there's been bribery allegations, that they have been forced to give 9 million shillings, 12 million shillings as bribes, so that they cannot be grilled, so to speak. But far and beyond, we have to look at what are the repercussions then of failing to attend this particular grilling in Senate. You see, Senate works under very strict timelines. There is a High Court ruling that happened in 2024 that then gave impetus to Senate to summon, and the particular person who has been summoned to appear within 3 months. And the repercussions of not appearing within these 3 months is that that particular report is nugatory. It's just a mere academic exercise. You're not going to be helping much, because justice delayed is justice denied. That's what we say. So within those 3 months, the court ruled that it's important for the person who has been summoned to appear. What are the repercussions of not appearing? There's a fine. And that's what I've seen most governors actually opting for. And you've seen, for example, in the recent past, Governor for Nairobi, Honorable Sakaja, actually failing to attend several Senate summons or committees and paying the 500,000 shillings as fine. So they prefer to pay the 500,000 shillings as fine after they fail to attend very important Senate committee. So there are so many things that play out in this particular thing. But I think for the governor's side, they must prove. If at all there has been aspects of bribery, they must also prove.
Is this process being politicized?
Well, I think, of course, the disadvantage with our current system is that politics infiltrates legal processes. That's always the biggest problem. But according to my analysis of the two committees, I think they have been very objective in their reports.
Yes.
And they have been very objective in their grilling. You'll see that when they are asking questions, they're not asking questions just out of emotions. For example, there is a recent Senate proceeding or Senate committee meeting that actually put the governor for Vihiga onto the light. And the governor for Vihiga actually was alleged to have spent 5 million shillings on on a house party. So you see that, for example, might not be termed as a politicized, thing. That is something that is on the record, and actually proved it. So the committees have been very objective. They have been there to ensure that they actually grill the governors, and they actually put them to account, because once you hold public office, then you're also open to scrutiny. And the Constitution as well captured that. It has captured that under accountability and transparency. Yeah.
Imran, do you think these oversight hearings, especially for governors, can be reformed to become more technical and less politically charged?
It's very difficult to separate the governor's role in politics and them being answerable to accountability in terms of public resource management. But I think one thing that the governors need to do is just appreciate the role of the Public Accounts Committee, for example, in exercising their constitutional mandate in terms of holding the governors accountable or asking them queries and concerns on what the Auditor General feels is gray areas where they need to explain more or pronounce themselves in terms of their leadership and governance of public resources. But Kenya, as you know, it is a landmine for political theatrics.
Yes.
And I will say that it is very difficult to separate politics and policy sometimes. But I urge the governors to be honest and responsible members of the society before they start displaying their political theatrics to the public. When you are looking for offices, you are politicians, yes, but the minute you are elected into these public offices, you are a servant for the public, and you are answerable to queries and concerns of Kenyans and the people from your constituents. Yes.
How would you say these oversights are enhancing devolution in terms of how they are carrying out their mandate?
You see, Mike, there's something called separation of powers. And the separation of powers, as proposed by a writer called Montesquieu, then puts into place what we call checks and balances.
Yes.
And within the separation of powers, we have Parliament. And Parliament has two houses. That's the Senate and the National Assembly. Within the Senate, we have a kind of a representation from the counties, the 47 counties. So then what that means is that Senate plays an oversight role within the counties to ensure that governors and basically the counties run effectively. To what extent? You see, and you've had lots of debates, including with the one man, one vote, one shilling. We've had a lot of debates with regards to allocation of resources and all those things, equitable share, all those things. So you find that once resources are allocated to the counties, let's say, for example, Tana River County, then it's upon also the senator to ensure that within the committee of the Public Accounts Committee and Public Investment Committee, this governor is put to account to tell the Kenyans and tell also the House how he has spent the money. So if at all counties move with the appropriations bill within the county assemblies, they say that this allocation has to go to roads, for example, because they're also devolved, they have to go to electricity, they have to go to what, then was that money used for that purpose? I think oversight plays a very critical role when it comes to Senate, and I think it should proceed and enhancing devolution. You see, for a very long time we've had lots of discussions with regards to devolved corruption. So in essence, then Senate comes in to ensure that it also plays a critical role. But I also think, as a recommendation, Senate should also be, added some more power, in my own view, especially with regards to accountability aspects. Because you find oftentimes governors will not appear before the Senate because they know these guys don't have any prosecutorial powers. These guys cannot act as quasi-judicial bodies. So the most they can do is just fine me. Finding me 500,000 shillings with a net worth of 50 million shillings or 100.
Like a drop in the ocean.
It's just a drop in the ocean. So these guys should have at least more power. We can also view it from an aspect of also impeachments, right? We have seen several governors actually being impeached, but it's also politicized. That's the unfortunate bit, and it has to go full hearing before the House. Once it moves now, it transits from the committee. So I think now we should be seeing more of impeachments for governors who are not, accepting to be held to account, because this is public money. It's not an individual's money. Also, supposed to see more of public shame. I'll say these things should not be private. These things should not be only conserved within the Senate. These things should be made public, so that people know your governor did not attend this particular hearing. It was with regards to SHA. It was with regards to education within the county. He did not attend. There were no reasons given thereof. And I see, for example, right now the reasons that are being given for governors to skip meetings is that they're in a retreat in Kilifi. So you see,
should that really be something?
Yes, so it's something that is up for debate, but you see, such things should actually be put to the limelight. I saw, for example, in the papers that Governor for Embu, the UDA chairperson, Governor Cecily, said that the reason she skipped the meeting, the important meeting, is that she's in Kilifi discussing matters to do with health. Matters to do with SHA. So something that is up for debate. But either way, those are the recommendations that I will make to also enhance devolution.
To reinforce what Wakili is saying,
yes.
I come from Mandera County.
Yeah.
And many governors from my region, that is the Northern Kenya region, come up with very funny excuses when they are told to come and answer to these questions by the Senate. And some of them go for diaspora trips. Some of them pretend that they are going for pilgrimages to Saudi and Mecca and all that. Some of them continue, raising security tensions within the county so that they feel like they are attending to more urgent and more serious issues than coming and answering questions at the Senate. So I think this issue of pushing governors to actually appear, or the law being reinforced to make sure that governors take the Senate and particularly the Public Accounts Committee seriously, is really an area where we need to improve as a country.
Would you think, as Wakili said, impeachment in that regard would work? Do you think impeachment, say allegations have been raised, they have been proved, would it work?
I mean, impeachment is a political process, according to me. And before we get to even impeachment, what is the law doing about this?
Exactly.
What are the authorities doing about this? For example, we have governors who have been convicted of crimes on public funds management. We have governors who've been, sentenced on the management of public funds, for example. And we have others who don't even get investigated after serious allegations. Why will somebody like Ferdinand Waititu be in jail, and when the Senate Public Accounts Committee raises questions about somebody like the governor of Mandera County or any other county, for example, authorities don't investigate. Authorities don't look into this issue. That is why we need to ask, as ordinary Kenyans, are we applying the law selectively? Or is there something we don't understand? Because you are convicting and arresting and jailing governors for mismanagement of public funds, and you are not investigating others. what is the problem? Why? These are the questions ordinary Kenyans are asking. And we will not be scared or cowed in asking these questions, because we believe we are the right voices of the people and we speak for the people. We represent the people in our own ways. So I think, Mike, the problem we have in Kenya is that the law is applied selectively.
Yes. Do you agree with that? And if, say, now governors start boycotting such appearances, what precedent does it set for state officers?
Well, I agree with my colleague that the law is applied selectively in this country, and that's the most unfortunate bit, because you find that, for example, and if you read through even the judgment that was there in the Waitito case, you find that there were grave allegations against him, of even money laundering, you know, forming companies in the name of his family members and all those things. So we have seen a lot of that being replicated by several county governors, but the most that happens is them saying it's just political witch hunt. And that takes me to a very important part of the Constitution. That's Article 79 of the Constitution. It actually talks about EACC, but you find EACC goes only to an extent of an investigative role. Then we move into the office of the DPP. Office of the DPP has to pick up these matters, right? So you find that there's oftentimes a disconnect in between, and it gives room for actually I'll call it infiltration into the evidence. So there's a big problem, there's a big disconnect in our justice system as far as corruption is concerned with that regard. So but aside from that, you find that in this country, we need to actually have we actually need to uphold the rule of law, because if you find, for example, the Constitution is very clear with regards to what should happen to such individuals, what should happen to individuals who don't observe leadership and integrity, for example, then we should actually follow that. We should actually be a bit more serious. But there's actually something else that comes to play. If leaders don't follow what is set out, then that sets a very bad precedent. Because, for example, if we, the young people, look up to leaders who don't follow the law, we actually brag about having the best constitution. They don't follow the law, they do absolutely nothing with regards to the rule of law. Then it means that this country eventually will become a banana republic. It will become an ungovernable country, a country that cannot be resided in, a country without laws. So the leaders ought to follow the laws that are there. The leaders ought to ensure that they appear before committees, they appear before Senate. They should not, merely term it as harassment or extortion. They should actually appear. It's rather we see that it's extortion live on camera when they have appeared, rather than saying it's extortion on paper. They have just written some memoranda and sent it to Senate. But there's also something else with regards to, and I'd forgotten it, there's something else with regards to summons. You see, Senate is actually given power by an act we call the Powers and Privileges Act of the Senate, I think Section 18 and 3 thereabout. It gives Senate that particular power. So, and also with respect to even the National Assembly, because you also see that these things are intertwined. National Assembly summoning even the CSAs and what have you. So these laws are there, so we have to appreciate what is there and ensure that the leaders actually follow these laws.
Indeed, indeed. That is a very interesting point, and we are going to continue with this conversation after this very short break. Stay with us. Yeah, we are talking about the matters to do with the governors, the tiff between the governors and the Senate regarding the oversight role, and also governors raising allegations of extortion and also harassment. So I want us to take the next 10 minutes to close on this discussion. So when you look at how these processes have been handled, Wakili, over time, it's not the first time they are happening. But then again, we do not have really have a conclusive ending to it.
Yes.
Where institutions have taken up what has been discussed and unearthed by the Auditor General, investigating, and even we do not really see arrests and prosecutions. Yeah. Why is that?
You know, historically speaking, and this is what has been observed over time, people who really occupy two offices specifically, the office of EACC, yes, right, chairperson EACC, and the chairperson of these other commissions, sorry, I'm forgetting it. Those two particular commissions have actually had chairpersons who have resigned midway because of the pressure that is in there. Because now you find once you are given that particular role to now pick up and unearth whatever has been given by the Auditor General, that's the second office I was forgetting, the Auditor General, once they give you those particular recommendations, you're tied between protecting your job and ensuring that you serve the interest of the country. That is always the divide. So you find that oftentimes most of these officers, in as much as they want to make the right decisions, they can't make the right decisions. Yeah. They'll make the favorable decisions, and there's a difference to that. You find that actually the office holders of these particular offices, once they come out, you'll find them writing very nice books with regards to what should have happened. And you wonder why they didn't write those, they didn't do what they said in those books when they were in office. So you find that aside from that, there is also a notion in this country that corruption is institutionalized. So if at all I can come and see you, Mike, and you're the one, for example, in the office of the Auditor General, yes, and tell you, hey, look, these papers look so bad. These papers don't look so nice on my reputation and everything. So what you're going to do, you're going to hide these papers, don't expose them. So you accept because, I mean, it's money. So once that happens, you find that the integrity of these institutions is actually compromised. So in essence, these offices should work independently, though they should also give recommendations to the other offices, as I talked about checks and balances. But thereafter, we should see more of prosecution happening, because you find there's a link between the investigative role and also the prosecution role. So but now you find there's another loophole that is always there, the loophole of the evidence. Because, you know, the prosecution can't proceed without evidence. Realistically speaking, in as much as in some instances we have overwhelming evidence, in some instances we have scanty evidence. And these people have been charged in the court of public opinion. So in the court of public opinion, Mike is very guilty, Mike should go to jail, Mike should return our money. But when it comes to evidence, what is now within the court of law? Because that's the other question. So if you don't have enough probative evidence to actually adduce before the court, then the DPP's hands are tied. Yes. So to that extent, then also we have to ensure that these institutions do a good job. Yes. So if EACC does a bad job in terms of investigation, then the DPP's hands are tied. So we can't proceed much with ensuring that you have accountability.
Indeed, indeed. Imran, when you look at it, should public participation mechanism be enhanced to ensure that citizens can participate in demanding accountability directly from governors?
Mike, that's a very good question, and I'm a firm believer of the role of the citizenry in governance and you know, nation building. For example, we leave too much to the government. It is not the responsibility of the government to build the nation. My argument has always been it is the responsibility of the ordinary citizen to build this country, to build this nation, to make it the best country that can ever be. So I think the citizenry has always been leaving things to government, you know, giving their power to the government, making sure that, you know, the government does A, B, and C. But then what is the role of the ordinary Kenyan, of the ordinary citizen, is to speak against all these injustices we are talking about, is to fight this corruption, is to hold leaders responsible. Before we start holding leaders responsible, we really need to question the people we are sending into these offices, their character, their fabric, their beliefs, their principles, and how they are going to change our country. We need to send better versions of ourselves into Parliament. We need to send better people into the Senate. We need to demand better people to occupy these seats in the executive. We need to send the best amongst ourselves to the judiciary so that collectively we build the nation from every sphere of nation building. Because, Mike, I am not for the idea of ceding all powers to the government, making sure that, you know, the government does this and that and this and that. It is us, the people in the newsroom, the people in the markets, the people in transport, the people in manufacturing who build the nation. So my point will be, we are not asking people to participate. We are reminding people that it is their responsibility to participate in government, in policy making, in accountability, in electing and firing, you know, people from these posts. Yes.
Indeed. Let's close with this, and I'll take this as your closing remarks. 30 seconds each. What should be the way forward?
The way forward, number one, should be to ensure that we follow the rule of law. Number two, should be to ensure that we bring to account these people who are in these offices, because they opted to vie for office, run for office, so they must be held to account. Number three, we must also ensure that there is the strengthening of the institutions that are supposed to ensure that we follow the rule of law. We talk of EACC, talk of the DPP, talk of the DCI. These offices should be strengthened. So in a nutshell, we have to follow the law.
Follow the law. Imran?
My way forward will be for ordinary citizens, for Kenyans, for professionals, for government officials, for voters to take their responsibilities as members and citizens of this country seriously and make sure that we elect people who are outstanding in character, in management, in thinking, in principles to government offices so that they can represent us the best way possible without jeopardizing the weight of carrying the country along.
Indeed, indeed. That's a powerful point to end there. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
That is Imran Abdirahman Mohammed, who is a youth leader, and also Evans Mushanga, who is a lawyer, speaking to us about matters of devolution, especially when it comes to issues that have been raised in regards to devolution, our governors dodging accountability. This is where this conversation ends. And now, Entertainment Thursday